So we are going to be talking about how to choose which types of text to send. And we're going to be using something called the PASTA framework, which I'll explain a little more shortly what that actually means. Let's see. There we go. So I'm Danny Henyon. I'm the content lead and strategist here at Simple Texting. I have been in marketing for about 8 years, in digital marketing specifically. So I have a background in copywriting, which means I am really, really, really interested in what our customers are sending and what kinds of responses they're getting. And so that's kind of where this is coming from. I want to help people to know what types of text to send and then give them ideas from other brands. And so here's what today is going to look like. We are going to talk about what our strategies are looking like today, and we'll have a little bit of an interactive moment in the chat. And then I'll introduce this PASTA menu, or a PASTA framework, as I also call it. And it's 5 parts, 5 types of text that you can send. And I have examples from real brands, which I don't know about you guys, but I really love to see what other brands are sending. Sometimes I'll just sign up for SMS lists just to see and get ideas. So we'll take a look at each of those, and then I'll give you some ideas for how to actually use this in your strategy and how to put this PASTA menu or PASTA framework into action. And then finally, like I mentioned, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So definitely drop all of your questions in that chat. Okay, so this is that interactive moment I mentioned. How confident would you guys say you are in your current texting strategy? And you can put a number 1 through 5 in the chat. 1 being, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. 2, 5, I know exactly what I'm doing. I feel great about this. Don't really need any help. All right, I'm seeing some 2, 3. That's good. 1, okay, that's okay. That's why we're here. Even if you feel like you're at a 5, you'll still get some examples of other types of text that you can send, and hopefully this will still be valuable for you. Yep, 2s, 3s, totally makes sense. So the whole point of this is it's a lot harder to actually reach your goals in SMS marketing if you don't know what your contacts want or need from you. You probably have a good idea of who's on your list. You know, you have your contact lists within your account, and you know at least roughly what they're looking for, why they signed up with you. But without focusing on those things, it's going to be really hard to figure out what types of text to send next. A lot of people focus on what information do I want to send out, or what do I want people to know, but it's all about what they want from you. And so, got a picture of PASTA here. This is kind of where this all came from. I once invited some neighbors over for a dinner, and I asked them, would you like me to make spaghetti or pasta? I mean, excuse me, spaghetti or chicken? And they said spaghetti. What I didn't know was they are very agreeable and very polite people, and they chose spaghetti, but they actually don't like either of those options. So I made the spaghetti and watched them kind of push it around their plate all night. And I realized later that was not the right thing to make. What I should have done was ask them, what type of dish would you like me to make you? And then I could pick something from those choices that I knew that I could make and that I knew what they would be happy with, and keep them coming back, hopefully for another dinner party. So that's a little story or metaphor. It really happened that kind of illustrates this. We sometimes send out texts that we don't know if it's exactly what the person's going to want from us. So, like I mentioned, we've got this PASTA framework, or PASTA menu. It's got 5 different types of text. They're different categories. It's not meant to be a process where you send each type of text out. There's going to be questions in each section to help you know, are these the right texts that I should be sending to my contacts? And then if so, what do I send exactly? So the first one is prize texts, and those are things like promo codes. You're probably already sending some messages like that already, special offers, early access, accessibility text. This is things like reminders, instructions, just any information that your contacts need to be successful with your brand or your products. Suggestion texts, those are lifestyle content, motivational quotes, creative ideas. You're suggesting ways for them to use or use things or do things. And then teaching texts, Those are any educational texts, so how-to guides, quick tips, expert Q&As where people can send in their questions and get real-time responses from people on your team, and amusement texts. And those are really anything entertaining, conversation starters, things that just feel fun. All right, so let's get to it. The first one is prize text. Like I mentioned, these are like promo codes and things like that. You want to think about things that reward your contacts. What makes your contacts feel like a VIP or make them at least thankful that they signed up? And so promo code, special offers, early access, any of these types of things are perfect for prize text. They may even be things that you lead with in your opt-in. It might be something that you say, hey, text this keyword to my number to get early access to my sales or early access to event registration, things like that. And then if you're not sure if this is the type of text for your strategy, or you want to send these types of texts, but you want to know exactly what to send, some questions that you can ask are, what kinds of deals and exclusive information are my contacts interested in? And then what would make my texting program feel more valuable? What would make them say, what would make them send the information to their friends and family and tell them to sign up to? And so the first example of this, I really love this example from TBD Coffee Co. I signed up for their text messages. They offered 10% off on their website. And so I, of course, entered my number and my email, and I got this message from them. It's typical that, you know, you'll get a, hey, use this text or use this code for 10% off at checkout. That's pretty standard, but I love how they took it a step further and asked about my personal preferences, because then they have that information on me, what I like. They can send out more promotions based on those things. I responded medium roast because that's what I happen to like for coffee. And they sent me a personalized response saying, hey, you would really like this product or this product, go back to our website and don't forget to use this promo code. So I really appreciated that approach. And then another one that I got was from this brand. It's a soy candle brand called Mala, and they sent out an announcement about one of their collabs. And they said, this collab is coming soon, drop some guesses. And they provided a link where you could go and type in your guesses. And then they said, because you're on our VIP list, because you're on our VIP SMS list, we'll secretly pick one comment to win. I really appreciated this approach because they're already branding their list as exclusive. They're letting you know that this thing that they're promoting right now is not available to everyone. So email subscribers probably aren't getting this. And it's also kind of goes into another text we'll talk about later, where it's amusement. It's a contest. It's fun. All right. And remember, if you have any questions about any of these, definitely let me know. The next one is accessibility texts. And these are anything that's going to create a smooth brand experience for your contacts, anything that's going to help them be more successful with your brand or your products. It could be a text that says, here's what to expect from your order, appointment reminders, event details, even just event confirmations, and then directions, instructions, things like that. It's super helpful sometimes to have that information in your text so you're not rooting around in your email. It can make the lives of your contacts a lot easier. And so you might ask yourself things like, what kind of information do my contacts need for a frustration-free experience? Are people missing appointments or forgetting to reorder a product because I'm not reminding them? What information are people reaching out to you for on a regular basis? Sometimes they'll tell you indirectly what they want from you. So if you're getting recurring questions, that might be time to create a campaign around that. So one example of this is from a really cool company called Bin Blasters, and they clean garbage bins, which if you've never seen them on TikTok, definitely look up Bin Blasters on TikTok. Amazing campaigns as well. So they have one, if somebody signs up and says, hey, I would like to book your cleaning services. They'll say, thank you for booking a cleaning with bin blasters. We'll get you booked right away. And then they give this link to a video that shows the process. So it shows exactly what that customer can expect and what the trucks are going to do when they come by and things like that. It just helps to set better expectations. And it's a great branding opportunity for bin blasters. And then this is an example at the top of this at the top of this webinar. Alfredo mentioned that we have a podcast now called Shoestring. And our first guest on that podcast was called Makers Collective. And we were helping them to come up with ideas to market their event, the Indie Craft Parade. And one of our recommendations was sending out a text to get a map for the event. So attendees could text in map to Makers Collective's number, and then they would get a link to a PDF of that map. And it's so much better than having the paper map walking around and maybe them throwing them on the ground or throwing them in the trash, but they just have it right there on their phone. So with the third one, the third category is suggestion text. And these are showing your contacts what is possible. That might be complementary products and services. Maybe they purchase something from you and you have a suggestion of another product or service that would complement that they may not even realize you offer. Or lifestyle inspiration, UGC from customers. So showing how other people are using your products and services, giving them ideas that way. And then even life hacks, if it doesn't have to do with your product, but you have expertise in a certain area, give them ways to make their lives easier. Okay, and so you can ask certain questions to kind of decide, are these the right types of texts for my strategy? So are your contacts looking for ideas related to your products or services? What product or service pairings can you recommend to your contacts that they would appreciate? What are some creative ways to solve your contacts' biggest challenges? So thinking kind of reverse engineering and thinking, what are their current challenges in their life, whether it relates to my product or not? And then do I have the expertise or at least the resources that I can point them toward to help solve those things? And so I'm back with an example from Mala. They are killing it with their SMS strategy. They have a text that they sent. I received this text that said, not sure where to start, try my personal fave, our best-selling discovery kit. And I really appreciated this because they also include they acknowledge how hard it is to shop for candles online. You can't smell them, you can't, feel the product, you can't interact with the product. So they actually sell these little tea candles that have the different scents. And so I didn't know that they offered that. Now I know, and now I can go get one directly from this link. And then I love this example is a yoga studio customer of ours, and they proactively ask customers if they have, any questions or any issues. So this one says, this is Jen from the yoga studio. You're about halfway through your new student intro pass. I wanted to check in with you. Is there anything I can help you with? How have your classes been so far and things like that? And this person said, they've all been great. It's amazing. Thank you. But I've seen examples from their strategy where people said things like, my back was hurting during the session and I just don't know if this is for me, or I don't feel like I'm flexible enough. And they've been able to identify that early and recommend, oh, you might actually benefit better from this other package or this other type of class. And then the person's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, sign me up for that. So you're then suggesting things to people before they even realize that there's something that can solve their challenge. So the fourth category here is teaching text. And these are anything that is going to help show your expertise to your contacts. And similar to suggestion text, making their life easier and giving them inspiration, but in a more educational format. So this might be multimedia. It could be an explainer video. It could be a how-to guide, little quick tips or expert Q&As, things like that. And you might ask yourself to see if this is right for your strategy. You might ask yourself, What is my team most knowledgeable about? And is it something that my contacts would find interesting? What questions would I find in my contacts search history? I particularly like that question because it's pretty creative way to find out what you might want to send out. And then what questions do people typically have before buying my product or service? So this example here from Paula's Seeds, they send out every week, they send out a new video, and it has people from their team giving updates. They sell seeds for customers who are farmers, and they'll send out like here harvest observations. They might send out information about soil conditions in the area, things like that. They're providing their expertise, and it in turn helps people who are using their product. And it's a great branding opportunity as well, where they're getting faces out to these people. They're allowing their customers to meet them face to face, so to speak. And then this next example is from a company called Pretty Litter. Somebody on our team received this, and I thought it was pretty clever. The text says, "We've got a feeling there's something at your door. Check your Pretty Litter package," and then text colors for our handy color chart or support for customer service. So when you text colors, you get this color chart, and it tells you what your cat's litter means for your cat's health, I guess. I don't have a cat, but this seems really handy. And it's great because somebody who ordered this product may not even realize that this PDF is ready or available to them. Even if it's included with the product, they'll have it on their phone now forever. So it's a great resource to have, and it's a great way to reinforce your brand. Having it in their camera roll is perfect for this type of service. Okay, we've got the last category here, and they are amusement texts. So that is anything that's going to delight your customer, it's going to entertain them, and start conversations with them and help them get to know your brand personality a little better. You might want to run contests and giveaways, especially ones that are kind of surprise or just because giveaways. Those are always appreciated by contacts. Fun images and videos, things that are relevant, things that you know will appeal to the humor of your contacts in your particular audience. And then polls and surveys give people an opportunity to share what they're thinking or share their opinion on things. And you might ask yourself questions like, what information would inspire or entertain my subscribers? Are there unexpected ways that I can bring joy to my contacts' day? Just a quick text to brighten their day. What questions can I ask to show that I value my audience's feedback? I love this example from Postino Wine Cafe. It's a restaurant that ran a campaign called Battle of the Bruschetta. It was like a March Madness style competition with new flavors, and every 2 weeks they'd have new flavors kind of duking it out to see which one people liked best. So they would send out these texts every 2 weeks saying, "Hey, did you get to try these? Here's your options, vote for your favorite." And then at the end, the one that won made it permanently onto the menu. So I thought that was a really clever campaign. We actually have an article about it on our website that shows more from that campaign. But this one says, "Welcome to round 2 of Postino Battle of the Bruschetta. It's time to cast your vote. Text back A or B for your favorite bruschetta." And then they have the 2 options. So this is giving people an opportunity to share their opinion. People on their social media pages were super into this as well. They were saying, "I cast my vote. I hope that this one wins. I need more of this in my life," that kind of thing. So it's a good way to get people excited. And it's good if you can cross-reference things on social with your SMS campaign. It helps reinforce your brand, and it helps reinforce that messaging. And then this next example here is from Amazing Lash Studio. I really like how they share inspirational texts or motivational texts. And in this case, they shared a clip from a video, and the owner, Nadia, gave her commentary on it and why she thought it was great, and then recommended that they check it out. Nadia actually said on her Instagram, I saw that she had posted about this campaign, and she said that it's been a great way to get people re-engaged with their brand, maybe people who came into the studio once, but haven't returned and maybe just forgot about their services. She said that she's gotten more engagement because this reminds them, hey, Amazing Lash Studio exists and they're helpful and they're inspiring, and I want to go back to their studio. Okay, so those were the 5 types of text in the positive framework. You might be thinking, great, how do I know which ones to actually use, or what do I do with this information? The first thing you're going to want to do is think about your customer's journey or think about your contact's journey. Identify the types of behaviors that they might, or the behaviors and needs that they might need throughout their interaction with your brand. So I actually talked to Dr. Michael Barbera. He's a consumer behavior psychologist, and he had said that one of the best things you can do is, or excuse me, if your consumer is engaging with a particular challenge today or at a certain point in their consumer journey, what challenge comes next for them? He really recommended thinking about where are they at today, what's next for them, what can you anticipate for them, and then send them marketing messages or texts that identify or that solve them. And then I recommend choosing, if you want to try some of these types of texts and mix them into your strategy, I recommend starting with maybe 1 to 3. I think less is more in this case because you don't want to overwhelm people with a bunch of new text messages. Make sure to space them out. If you are hesitant, if you're thinking, I really don't know if I want to send this out, or I don't know if I'm going to annoy my subscribers, one thing I would do is maybe segment my contact list and create a smaller section of my contacts that I could test this out with, maybe for a week or 2 weeks. Send them campaigns that you would like to send to everybody and see what happens. Do they unsubscribe? Do they reply back? Do they click through to your links? Check out the engagement, see what's happening, and then you're not testing that on your entire contact list all at once. And then, of course, monitor engagement. So if you do decide to send it out to everybody, make sure you're looking at link clicks, replies. Not only are you getting replies, but are they positive? Or are they, please stop texting me? Or, hey, why did you send me that? I never signed up for that kind of thing. You want to make sure that you match their expectations for why they signed up in the first place. And then also keep an eye on your unsubscribe rates. We recommend unsubscribe rates at or below 3%. The lower, the better, of course. And that is our discussion today. If you have any questions, I know, Alfredo, you were keeping an eye out on the chat box.
Yeah, so we had a question from Devin just asking if we're going to include the slides so that they can share them with their team. So we'd be happy to do that. We can send out a link to the recording to everyone who registered, and we'll send out a link to these Google Slides as well.
Mm-hmm. And I see one here from Christina that says, how often would you recommend sending out text messages? That's a great question. Not one that I can answer with a blanket statement, but I will say, generally we say maybe start once a week or twice a week. It really depends on what you're selling or what your audience is looking for from you. If it's promo codes and you have a promotion every couple of days, you may want to go ahead and send those out. But in fact, when I talked to Dr. Michael Barbera that I referenced earlier, he said less is more in this situation. If when in doubt, maybe don't send it out. It's kind of his advice. If you're in doubt, I would also say you can test your frequency on maybe a subset of your contacts. Like I mentioned earlier, that way you can see what's the engagement with that subset and then roll that frequency out to the rest of your contacts if it goes well.
And I'll actually add, we wrote an article on this. We actually just published it this month, where we give a few different frameworks. And the simplest one is start with once a week, mix up the different types of text. So if you're thinking through the PASTA framework, send out a prize text with a promo. Then next week, try a text that's just a teaching text sharing some bit of expertise. the following week, send another prize text, and then kind of just keep an eye on unsubscribe rates. If you feel like it's the unsubscribe rate's too high, try lowering it, and then optimize from there. But I'll send out a link to the slides, the recording, and also I can send out this article about how often to text and different ways of going about that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Do we have any more?
Matt is asking if we can go back to the pasta menu slide so that he can screenshot that. I think
Yes,
fine.
and we'll be sending out the deck as well, but let me see if I can go to that pasta slide. Okay, I may have to exit here and then I'm going to scroll all the way up. Is this the one? If this isn't the right one, let us know in the chat, but I think this was the one. Maybe? Oh, no.
Yeah, I think it is that one, but yeah, that slide.
Technical difficulties.
A few more questions. One from Bobby asking if emojis improve conversion rates. We'd be making up that answer. We don't have that data, but Danny is working on an article now about a few different ways of measuring whether or not your texts are working. I think we'll be publishing that in the next week or so. So we can send that out, and I would say just experiment with it. It's going to be different depending on your audience and what you're selling, right? I think I don't want to give a blanket statement there. I would say try it. Same thing. Somebody asked, what's the recommended ratio of images versus text in a message? I think it also depends on what you're selling. So I would think about whether the product is something that visually looks appealing. So if we were sending out a reminder text for this webinar, I don't know if it's necessarily worth the extra cost, right? Because it takes 3 credits to send out an MMS message, if it's worth the extra cost to send that out. But if you're a restaurant and you're trying to entice people to come in for lunch, it's really different to say, come in for this, bruschetta, and there's no image versus something that looks really visually appetizing. Or, right, if you're a jewelry brand, it's really different to say, check out our rings versus actually including images of those rings. So I would think about the product you're selling and whether or not that's something that's visually interesting. Nadia, who we used some of her examples, said thanks, and that our program made this possible. So thank you, Nadia.
I see one. Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Go for it. No, go for it. Go for it, Danny.
Okay. Yeah, I see one from Gloria. It says, what strategy would you suggest if your contacts are an older population and not tech savvy? It's hard to say without knowing exactly what you offer or what your products or services may be. But I will say, we spoke to someone who uses Simple Texting, who they actually started using Simple Texting because they serve an older population. The contact there said that she was calling people constantly because they're not on Facebook, they're not on Instagram. So she was making a ton of calls every day. The texting really helped with that. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to say though with an older population. Maybe one thing is maybe don't use a lot of like slang or text speak because it might be a little confusing if it's a population that doesn't usually use that type of slang. But yeah, if you want to add some more information about what you sell or offer. Let's see. And then Danielle asked, would you have any examples for insurance firms? We actually do have some resources on that. I can put up, I don't think I actually put this slide up, but there's a slide for my contact information. So if you'd like, yeah, here we go. If you'd like, you can reach out to me via email and we can send you some resources that we have for that specific industry.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Feel free to type them in if anyone has any more questions. Danny, if you want to go on to the next slide, I'll give another pitch for looking up our podcast Shoestring on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Again, the premise of the show is on each episode, we reach out to a Simple Texting customer, we learn more about their business, and we come up with marketing ideas for them, both SMS marketing ideas, but also we just brainstorm generally about how to help their business. So if you want to see what other small businesses are doing, it's definitely worth looking up this podcast. We'll be coming out with our second episode either this week or early next week. Sam asked if we have any samples for real estate. We do have a real estate guide. I can follow up with you, Sam, and send over an email with that.
Awesome. Well, I think that's everything for today. Thank you guys all for joining, for the great questions that you've had. And we'll be sending out the slides and the recording. Is that right, Alfredo?
Yep, we'll send out the slide, the recording, and if anybody asks for kind of industry specific examples, we'll shoot over an email to you, Danielle and Sam, with that info.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.